notice something strange. Two people can start from almost the same place, same age, same opportunity, same resources. Yet, after few years, one person completely transforms their life while the other stays exactly where they are. Most people call it luck, some call it talent. But what if the real difference is something much deeper? What if the difference starts with the thoughts they repeat every single day? Because whether we realize it or not, our thoughts slowly become our belief, and our belief slowly becomes our reality. The biggest obstacle most people face is not lack of intelligence, it's not lack of opportunity, it's not lack of hard work, it's limiting belief. Think about it, nobody is born believing they are not good enough. Nobody is born believing success belongs to other people. And nobody is born believing their dreams are impossible. These ideas are learned over time. Life teaches us certain things. Maybe we failed at something, maybe people around us constantly doubted themselves, and little by little, those experiences start creating stories in our mind. Stories like I am not talented enough, I am not confident enough, what if I fail? The problem is that after hearing these thoughts for a year, they stop feeling like opinions, they start feeling like facts. Just because a thought appears in our mind doesn't mean it's true. A negative thought is not true, it's simply a thought. My favorite idea is this: you cannot always control the first thought that enters your mind, but you can control what happens next. Imagine a negative thought appears. Instead of accepting it immediately, pause for a second and ask yourself, is this actually true? Or this something I have repeated so many times that I automatically believe it? Most of the time, you will realize that the thought isn't reality, it's just an old belief trying to survive. Now, here's the interesting part: where do these beliefs come from? Why do some people naturally believe in themselves while others constantly doubted themselves? The answer is simpler than most people think. It's what they assume, it's what they consume. Every day your mind is collecting information from social media, from news, from music, from movies, from conversation, from the people around you. Everything becomes mental fuel, and your thoughts are built from that fuel. Think about your mind like a garden. If you are plant negative seed every day, negative news, negative conversation, negative content, eventually that's what grows. But if you constantly feed your mind with ideas that inspires growth, confidence, learning and possibilities, your thinking start changing too. And when your thinking changes, your actions begin to change. And when your action changes, your life begin to change too. And this is why protecting your mindset is so important, because your future is being shaped by what you are repeatedly allowing into your mind today. Most people are pay attention to what they eat, but very few people pay attention to what they mentally consume. And sometimes the things we consume mentally have an even bigger importance in our lives. And here's the something most people never realize: your mind is always listening, even when you think you are not paying attention. Video you watch, every song you listen to, every conversation you have, every post you scroll past, your brain stores the little piece of it. And over a time, those pieces start creating your view of the world. This is why two people can look at the same situation and see completely different things. One person sees opportunity, the other sees problem, one person sees possibility, and the other sees limitation. And most of the time, the difference comes from what they have been feeding their mind. Think about social media for a moment. Have you ever noticed how negative content spread incredibly fast? Bad news get more attention, dramas get more attention, argument get more attention, fear gets more attention, because negativity grabs our emotion and platforms knows this. That's why it's everywhere. And now I'm not saying you should ignore reality, but there's a difference between being informed and being consumed by negativity. If every day you watching content that tells your life is unfair, success is impossible, people are terrible, and everything falling apart, eventually your mind start accepting those ideas as a normal, even if you don't realize it. That's why some people feel exhausted all the time, not because of physical work, not because of mental overload. Their mind never get a break from negativity. And here's the scary part. The more negativity you consume, the most negative thoughts your brain start creating automatically. Then people think this is just who I am. But that's not true. Many times it's simply reflection of what they have been feeding their mind. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine you spend your time learning, reading, listening to people who inspire you, surrounding yourself with growth oriented ideas. Do you think your thoughts would stay the same? Of course not, because your input would change. Because when your input changes, your output changes too. Think of your mind like a machine. If you put poor quality material into a machine, you can't expect a high quality result. The same thing happens with your mindset. Positive thinking doesn't come from nowhere, it comes from what you repeatedly expose yourself. Now let's talk about self-belief, because this is where everything starts change. Have you ever met someone who seems incredibly confident? The type of person who walks into a room and immediately stand out. Most people assume they were born that way, but confidence is rarely something people are born with. Confidence is built, and it is built through evidence. Every time you do something difficult and survive it, you create evidence. Every time you keep promise to yourself, you create evidence. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you create evidence. And slowly your brain starts saying, maybe I can do this. Then that becomes, I think I can do this. And eventually, I know I can do this. That's how confidence grows. Not overnight, not magically. One small win at a time. The problem is that most people focus so much on their failure that they completely ignore their progress. They forget the small victories. They forget how much they are improved, and because of that, they never give themselves credit. But confidence isn't built by waiting for one huge success. It's built by stacking hundreds of small wins together. And once you understand that, everything changes. If confidence is built through small wins, then what destroys confidence? The answer is simple: inaction, overthinking, and constantly focus on what could go wrong. Think about it. How many times have you wanted to do something but talked yourself out of it? Maybe you wanted to start YouTube channel, start a business, learn a new skill, apply for an opportunity, or simply speak up and share your ideas. But before you even started, your mind began creating reason to stop. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I'm not good enough? And before you know it, your opportunity is gone. Not because you weren't capable, but because fear convinced you not to try. And this is why taking action is so important. Action creates proof, action creates experience, action creates confidence. You cannot think your way into confidence, you act your way into confidence. A lot of people wait until they feel ready, but the truth is, most successful people started before they felt ready. They started while they were scared, they started while they had doubt, and they started while they're still learning, because they understood something important. Clarity comes from action, not from the endless thinking. Here's an exercise I want you to try. The next time a negative belief appears, don't immediately accept it. Challenge it. Let's say your mind says, I am not confident. Ask yourself, is that completely true? Or have there been moments where I was confident? Maybe you spoke in front of class once. Maybe you handled a difficult situation. Maybe you helped someone. Those moments are evidence that the negative belief isn't completely true. And once you start looking for evidence, you will notice something interesting. Many of your limiting beliefs are built on very weak foundation. They survive because you have never questioned them, not because they are actually true. And this is why successful people often seem so different. This is not they have never experienced doubt. It's that they don't allow doubt to make decision for them. They keep moving, they keep trying, and every time they succeed, their confidence grows stronger. Now imagine doing that constantly for months. Every day taking one small step, every day keeping one promise to yourself, every day proving that you are capable. What do you think happened? Your identity starts changing. You start seeing yourself as someone who wishes, and start seeing yourself as someone who acts. That's a powerful shift. Because once your identity changes, your behavior naturally follows, and when your behavior changes, your result changes too. This is why the goal isn't become perfect overnight. The goal is to become slightly better than yesterday. Small improvement, one small action, because those tiny victories may look insignificant today, but over time they become the foundation of entire different life. Now let's talk about something that affect your mindset more than most people realize. The people around you, because whether you like it or not, your environment influences you. The conversation you hear every day, the attitude you have surrounded by, the expectation people have for themselves, all of these things slowly affect the way you think. Think about it. If you are constantly surrounded by people who complain, people who make excuses, people who focus on problem instead of solution, eventually that mindset start rubbing off on you. Not because you are weak, but because you will naturally absorb the energy and belief of the people around them. On the other hand, when you are surrounded by people who are growing, learning, taking action, and believing themselves, you begin to think differently too. Mindset challenges your belief. Their action inspires your action, and their belief starts strengthening your belief. This doesn't mean you need to cut everyone out of your life. It simply means you should be intentional about who influence your thinking, because the people around you can either expand your vision or shrink it. Now here's the something important. Being positive doesn't mean pretending that life is perfect. It doesn't mean ignoring problem. It doesn't mean acting happy every second of the day. Real positivity is different. Real positivity believing that even when challenges appear, you have capability to handle them. It's trusting yourself. It's choosing to move forward instead of giving up. The real test comes when things don't according to plan. That's when your mindset reveals itself. Let's imagine two people face the exact same setback. Both fail, both rejected, both experience disappointment. The first person says, "See, I knew I wasn't good enough," and they stop trying. And the second person says, "This didn't work out, but I learned something from it." And they keep moving forward. Same situation, completely different outcomes. Why? Because life isn't only about what happens to you, it's about how you respond, what happens to you. And over time, those responses becomes habit. Those habits become character, and that character shapes your future. This is why your mindset matters so much. Not because positive thinking magically solves everything, but because your mindset determines what you do next, and your action creates your result. So if there's the one thing I want you to remember from this video, it's this: pay attention to what you are feeding your mind. Pay attention to the thoughts you repeat. Pay attention to the people who influence you. Most importantly, pay attention to the promises you make to yourself, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust. And every time you build trust, you strengthen confidence. You don't need to become a completely different person. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to take one step, then another and another. Keep learning, keep improving, keep showing up, and eventually the person you want to become will no longer feel distant, because you will becoming that person every single day. Remember, your future is not created in one big moment. It's created by a small choices you make repeatedly. Choose growth, choose beliefs, choose action, and give yourself permission to become more than your past. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.